The lives of our people and this tree are interconnected. As we prospered, so too did it. It was the site for many of our rituals, and though that role has since been taken up by the Temple of Time, I am sure this sacred tree watches over us still. A crystal refinery, and one responsible for a highly complex manufacturing process. The nature of the work was such that only a select few constructs could perform it, and only 2 of those remain in operation. Fortunately, that is enough for now, though apparently there was a time when they could be found throughout the kingdom. The Temple of Time is a bell tower and faithful timekeeper, as well as a spiritual center of this land. It was constructed in a traditional Zonai architectural style that extends both up into the sky and down into the ground. It was believed in ancient times that such a design could pierce through evil. This altar is considered the most holy place in the temple, and it is where we give offerings as part of our prayers for a bountiful, peaceful world. I have heard ancient legends that it could interact with a sacred power, allowing travel back and forth through time. Though, how this was done is a mystery to me. The forest ostriches were once on the brink of extinction. However, a proposal by the Queen was made to protect them, and eventually, this species flourished once more. Though they were originally only found in colder lands, they are highly adaptable, thriving in all but the frigid polar regions. These rails are intended to transport materials, but they also supply energy through pipes. The Goron people make extensive use of this kind of mechanism, and I believe it is possible they modeled their designs on our own technology. On occasion, constructs have been observed forming a line as they wait for an available charging spot. More interestingly, some will give up their place in that line to allow constructs with a greater need to recharge first. Were it that everyone always acted with such empathy. Our culinary constructs were imparted with knowledge of both cooking meals and concocting medicines. Though they have no taste buds, they learn to mimic the movements we make when tasting food. Even my sister, who gifted them with the ability to learn in the first place, was surprised by what they gleaned through simple observation. This is known as a Zonai device dispenser. But the concept of leaving things to chance is not one often seen in our civilization. I myself believe that it was originally created with a different purpose. Maybe it was used for entertainment, or maybe it was not even originally made by the Zonai. The ways of our ancestors are sometimes unclear, but they are also interesting puzzles to unravel. Though the flux constructs can enter a standby mode, reducing energy consumption outside of battle, they remain one of our less energy-efficient creations. Considering their limitations, I would love to improve on their design and give them greater range, but my sister says the ancient schematics for them are quite abstruse. It was here that we used the capabilities of frost emitters to create a permanently snowy region. By encircling the island in cold air, we created an ideal place to test the durability of constructs and Zonai devices. I'll always remember the look of wonder on Sonia's face the first time we came here. We intended for this airfield to allow easy transportation of goods between Sky Islands. While I hoped the people of Hyrule would make use of it, the flying machines proved challenging to control. I once sought to join Sonia while she practiced with one, but a construct stopped me, insisting that the devices are limited to one rider. I do not believe anyone else is as proficient at handling Zonai devices as the Maker constructs. That said, one should be careful around the inventions of less experienced ones. I recall a very chaotic rafting ride when a misaligned fan made it nearly impossible to steer. I was scared half to death throughout. But Queen Sonia enjoyed herself. Circular designs often represent an eternal bond, and were even thought to ward off evil. Perhaps with that in mind, many of the structures here have been constructed with a circular shape. Though this was once an archive containing many important records, now only those my sister keeps remain. Zonite was once readily found even on sky islands. This giant refinery is a remnant of a time where its scarcity seemed impossible. Of course, the lava that powered the refinery still remains. I should consult with my sister and see whether we can yet find a use for this furnace. Those that complete the skydiving trial are bestowed empowering attire. It allows them to better control their movement in the air, and if all the pieces are worn together, the wearer need not fear striking the ground no matter how far they fall. The ancient Zonai even fell to the surface at times, but I believe this attire kept them safe too. I have heard that the original reason for the lower gravity in this space was to reduce the jolts cargo could experience during transit. However, it has an additional use. It seems the Zora greatly enjoy the sensation of swimming through the sky. Thanks to the plentiful water available here, this is a prime spot for conducting water-related research. The floating spheres, for example, have the potential to revolutionize logistics, but as they do not retain their shape for long, their use is limited to certain islands. The water that flows from here eventually becomes clouds and rain, bringing water down to the land. The Zora people in ancient times had dealings with the Zonai, and I can imagine they used the immense waterfall to travel from the surface to the sky. It is appropriate some refer to this waterfall as a bridge. I thought it very strange when I heard from the Zora that there was a fish in the sky, but now I see what they meant. They also told me to stand on the edge of the center platform and look out to the southwest, but Oh, I understand. Quite befitting the Zora. A lot of debris is scattered in the area. It is likely that cargo was handled here and... Perhaps the strange shape of the container made it difficult to control the launch mechanism. This area was once known for the abundance of ore that could be mined from the numerous floating islands. Many gathered here to make their fortunes, though today only a few mines remain. The sight of ore deposits sparkling in the night sky, wonderful company at one side, is a better kind of fortune in any case. It is said that until the guardian of this labyrinth offered guidance, a soul would be set to wander these halls. Perhaps this was the room where those dishonest with themselves were judged, where the guardian of this place weighed the courage of a soul. In a time when Zonai devices make it easy to overcome many of life's obstacles, the idea of flying through the sky without assistance, of overcoming one's fear of falling, has been dismissed as unnecessary idealism. But now that only my sister and I remain, I believe, with my whole being, that it is more important than ever to always strive to grow. I have heard that until a soul here receives guidance from the labyrinth's guardian, it will wander this maze. Perhaps it was here, then, that the Guardian of Wisdom, with their keen mind, would pass judgment on those who deceived others. I traveled here on a quest to cleanse evil, and Sonia has accompanied me. However, I had not considered how challenging it would be to traverse this path. If I had my sister's power, I could perhaps move this vessel. Ah, I think I remember. When a Zonai tumbled, Rito Wings gave chase. In thanks for their salvation, the Stormwind Ark was made. A gift given from the Zonai, and the Rito filled with joy. It is an old legend of my people. Could this be that vessel? The ceremony held here was a trial of heart, strength, and technique. There was a time where everyone who came of age would undertake this test. But as Zonai devices developed and spread, only those wishing to challenge their courage would take part. I wonder if this island will ever see a new challenger. This island is a training site for those who carry the power of light. By practicing at length with this power, one can grow strong enough to overcome great evil. Ah, to recall all the times I had visited this place in my youth. Though this island was originally used as a place to store things, it has been a long time since it fulfilled that role. And while the island lacks an official name, many have come to call it Starview Island. As for me, the only real stars are those sparkling in Sonia's eyes. This island was intended to be a fortress with a strong wall, but it seems to be collapsing faster than other islands. I wonder if the dry climate of the Gerudo region is at fault. Regardless, I should commission a maker construct to help as soon as possible. It would be a disaster if the island fell to the surface. There are stories that claim a soul will wander these halls until the Guardian of Power, said to reach from depths to sky it was so large, has cleansed them of their pride. Perhaps it was in this room that judgment was passed on those overly boastful of their power. This was originally a port where materials from the depths were imported and stored, but it is currently being managed by my sister as a construct warehouse. Security is unusually tight. Even I had trouble coming here. But, knowing my sister, she has her reasons. The people on the surface believe this to be proof of the lightning dragon's divine protection. In actuality, it is a lightning rod the Zonai constructed to prevent lightning strikes. Perhaps this is how belief in the lightning dragon began. I wonder how often belief results from unrelated coincidence. I get a strong sense of nostalgia in this place. When I was young, I was intensely interested in finding and studying treasure maps. Before I knew it, I had become quite familiar with the topography of the Sky Islands and, incidentally, with Zonai devices. Nothing motivates one to learn like a healthy sense of curiosity.